Visiting China has been an amazing experience for me, and it has drawn me back each year since 1998. With its vast territory, huge population, and ancient history, there is so much to see and learn. And the people have been very welcoming.
So I just have one sentence to say, I love you.
She sent a message that you can make a difference to everybody.
When I first came to China, it seemed to me that there was a new awareness of environmental problems and a growing concern about the effects of rapid industrialization, urbanization, and increasing consumerism in a country with 1/5 of the world's population. And I wondered what could be done. I think animals need us to help them quite a lot, don't you? There are only 110 chimps in the national park. I was surprised to learn that so many people in China were already doing so much to protect and heal the environment. Please join me as I visit some of the remarkable individuals in this unique country. An old friend, Greg McIsaac, had long encouraged me to visit.
Well, I first asked her in 1994. I said, Jane, you have to come here. China is now opening itself up to looking at different issues, environmental issues. And if you come, then it will change a lot of the way the people think towards the environment. And it will give them reason for hope.
Since 1998, I've given over 25 talks in schools and universities in China. I'm so inspired by the thousands of people who've attended my speeches in Beijing and Shanghai, and by their enthusiasm for the issues that are so close to my heart. It means hello. My fascination for animals began when I was a very small child, growing up in England in the middle of a city. When I first set off for Africa, there was no way I could have realized that I was embarking on such an amazing adventure. My childhood dreams came true in Tanzania when, in 1960, Dr. Louis Leakey gave me the opportunity to study chimpanzees at Gombe National Park. The discoveries I made that chimpanzees make and use tools, demonstrate a type of primitive warfare, and have intellectual abilities and emotions so similar to ours, have blurred the line between humans and animals. Everywhere I go, and China is no different, people are fascinated by the human-like behavior of the chimpanzees and are curious about what this means. But even these creatures, who have taught us so much, are now threatened by the destruction of the forest habitat that is their home. Many years ago, I came to realize that in order to save the chimpanzees and other threatened species, I would have to work hard to educate the people of the world about the need to protect the planet's precious wild heritage. Chimpanzees, they live in a great big forest. What does that mean? It's okay. In China, I found concern for the environment coming from all levels of government and society.
我想我们以后很有合作的可能性。这个，因为现在呢，在中国，在北京，那这个 群众参加的这个环境保护的活动啊，越来越多。
So if you believe that there's anything that we can offer in the way of programs, ideas, we're very honored. If we were chimpanzees sitting in this room with these bananas in front of us, there is a statement that we would make of great joy.
他们会怎么？他们肯定会这样。
这几天，国际知名的动物行为学家真古道尔博士又来到了北京。真古道尔博士是国际动物保护界的知名学者，一生致力于黑猩猩的研究和保护。他创办的根与芽系列活动，主要是鼓励年轻人自发地从一些小事做起，关注环境、关爱动物和关心社区。
邀请珍妮古道尔博士。
The Chinese media has shown great interest in my work. I've been interviewed many times and appeared on several talk shows on Chinese Central Television, the government-run national network. Most people around the world really understand the needs of animals, but sometimes because there are so many people in the world, we want to eat animals, we want to make more animals to eat, and so the way that we farm them is extremely cruel today. It's so easy to be overwhelmed by feelings of hopelessness as we look around at the problems of the world, but I've been so encouraged by the response I've received. So Mr. H and I, and he stands for hope as well, Mr. H and I have traveled to 34 countries, many of them several times. And he's probably been touched by 650,000 people.
660,000 67万吧。
650,000.
65万。
Oh, I can't believe people can do for the environment in such a way. You know, she's so calm and she do things really step by step and not very pushy, but everybody is beside her. She sent a message that you can make a difference to everybody. And after her speech, I think everybody believes that.
So I just have one sentence to say, I love you. We all love you.
感谢珍妮古道尔女士，你放心，你的那个目的快达到了。我们中国有很多真知灼见的那个人民都已经认识到这个问题，所以都已经团结起来了。所以我呀也还要奋不顾身，以往之前的和你们全世界的人民一起保护我们的大自然，保护我们的地球，保护我们的环境，创造一个很美丽的家园。
There are so many people who've dreamed seemingly unattainable dreams, and because they never gave up, achieved their goals against all the odds, or blazed a path along which others could follow. In China, I've met many incredible individuals. They inspire me. They inspire those around them. I'd like to share some of their stories. I didn't know what to expect when I was invited to visit the Beijing Zoo, and was pleased to find that in recent years they've begun to put more effort into improving enclosures and making the conditions more stimulating for the animals who live there.
Oh, he's got a rock. He's going to throw it. Oh, look at that. Wow. Oh, wow.
This is one of the few things he has that's really stimulating. So when he throws a rock, he knows that people will kind of run. That's very good for him. He's manipulating the crowd. See?
Okay.
It is so important that children from an early age learn that animals, just like us, have personalities and feelings. In the West, China has long been perceived as having very different attitudes towards animals. Chinese medicine has traditionally used many animal parts, including some from endangered species like tiger bone and rhino horn. While trade in endangered wildlife is banned and harshly punished by the Chinese government, some criminals continue to break the law, and the perception that the Chinese have different values is still widespread.
She hopes that they'll all find good homes, and so it's almost like an orphanage.
After hearing negative press reports about China's treatment of dogs, I was surprised to find one of the best-run dog and cat shelters I've ever seen here in Beijing.
我们这儿的护理员就是每天给它除了喂饭，完了遛放，还有就是梳毛，还有冲水、冲澡，因为他们要降温，他们每天做的工作非常多。
The dogs and cats who come here are the lucky ones. They have escaped the fate of so many of the pets who have been abandoned. The shelter is directed by a truly dynamic and compassionate woman, Zhang Lu Ping.
Yeah, somebody brought her back from America and then abandoned her.
Oh dear, fancy all that journey from America.
Yeah.
And then how can people do that?
哎呦，我真的没想到，而且呢，我治完这个小的欢迎词以后，她起来。
I can't believe she came to visit us. After I introduced her, she hugged me. Even though she's an older lady, I'm not used to being hugged. But I was very moved because I think she's truly a great person.
For the last 50 years, it hasn't been easy to keep pets in Beijing. In the more liberal 1980s and 90s, it became easier, but there are still restrictions, and it's very expensive. Around $600 American to get a license to keep a dog in the city. Recently, as the fashion has grown, a number of would-be animal owners have found that they just couldn't cope with the added responsibility and abandoned their pets.
很多人，我认为他打来电话，就是准备推卸责任。
Many people call. I think they want to give up their responsibility. So when I get these calls, I say, I think you misunderstand us here. The ultimate goal of my work is for everyone to be loving, for people not to abuse their pets.
希望大家都不要虐待它们。比方说是有主人的，
If the owner abandons them, it's the same as with dogs. They all understand I have been abandoned, and they're melancholy for a long time.
很自卑。这么多小生命。
All these little lives, it seems they're in the palm of your hand. You have the power to take care of them. Because of this, I have to persevere.
你得坚持下去。
Dogs and cats are perhaps the animals that are closest to us, but there are other animals that are under even greater threat. China has a unique example known as the Milu, or Père David deer. We all know of areas that have been totally polluted and destroyed, yet give those areas a little time and a little help, and nature can heal itself. There are animals that have been on the very brink of extinction, with only a few individuals remaining, that miraculously have been restored. At the deer park just outside Beijing, this miracle can be seen. My friend, Goodall, is the visionary environmental educator who directs the park.
First of all, in the eyes of young Chinese, and Chinese in general, she is a great scientist. And so we are delighted when we hear her say that chimpanzees have emotions just like humans. Chimpanzees know happiness, sadness, anger, and joy. Chimpanzees can make and use tools. Humans aren't the only ones. And then add to this her stories about her experiences in nature and with animals when she was young. And everybody thinks we should also live like that. We should respect animals.
Yeah, they do. She gets a big grin of fright on her face.
她的脸上就出现那种非常奇怪的表情，就是老奶奶刚才演示出来的。
And she can't bear it anymore, so she rushes down the tree and she picks up her little brother and she climbs with him to safety. I would like to tell people something about the wonder of being out in nature and having the opportunity to learn how extraordinary some of these other animal beings are, and share with them this feeling that's grown in me over the years of how humans have been so arrogant to think that we're completely separate, as humans on the one hand and all the other animals somehow below us on the other.
Oh, 上大锁喽. Uh-oh. Lock the door. This display is called A Cage Is Not My Home.
It's not so bad.
All right, if you're that comfortable, you can stay there. Do you see the deer?
The Milu deer was actually extinct in China until a captive herd, bred from individuals who'd been taken to England, was reintroduced.
City people say we can't even see them. And I say, look, there they are. But they still can't see them. And I tell them that this is pretty good. In the wild, it's even harder to see wildlife.
Is that the deer?
That's right. Those little eyes are very sharp. Let's go on and see the big group of deer.
走，快点儿。这个去年是教委的这个教育科学研究所的一个编辑。
Last year, an official of the Education Ministry saw my article about Dr. Goodall and the wild chimpanzees in the Beijing Evening News. He called me and asked, would I be willing to put my article in the national Chinese school curriculum? I said I was more than willing. I remember when I was young, the things we read in our textbooks gave me a lifetime of memories.
It's very exciting because, you know, the last time I saw them was in England when I was an adolescent, and I haven't seen them since. So it's very exciting to know that the program that was established to save them has really worked and come round full cycle. And here they are back where they belong. So it's wonderful. These striking images are the work of a talented young Chinese photographer and cameraman. Shi Jianong has chosen documenting the rare and endangered species of China as his life's work. He has experienced both the joy and frustration of photographing the natural world.
90年的一次拍摄经历，那是
In 1990, I went shooting to a remote area of Yunnan province with extraordinary biodiversity. A place with very few people where there should have been many animals. It had always been thought of as a wilderness because in that area there are no public roads. Before I went in, I thought, photographing animals wouldn't be a problem there. I would have never guessed that 3 months in the field would leave me feeling so sad. Because as I often tell my friends, the biggest animal I saw was a squirrel.
痛苦和悲伤吧，因为我看到的最大的哺乳动物呢就是松鼠。但是你这个去找野生动物的过程，你看到野生动物的那个时候
In the process of finding wild animals, when you finally see them, I think this feeling is something that most people can never know.
那这样的乐趣呢，也只有
And you can only feel this joy after experiencing the hardship of waiting and looking.
你才能感受得到。当你看到
Xi Jianlong's love of nature has gone beyond just capturing stunning images. It has made him a valuable champion for the endangered wild animals of China. His pictures have had a profound effect on efforts to protect several species, including the Tibetan antelope.
雪过之后，阳光洒在雪上。
The snow was just over. Beautiful sunlight shone on the mountains. A herd of Tibetan antelope slowly appeared on the horizon in front of the mountain. They slowly passed by my lens. At that time, I didn't know that it was a triumphant stag leading his harem, passing by me so proudly. What I saw was such a beautiful sight. The females passing by steadily, and finally the stag appeared. But I saw such a scene just once, because despite the many times I've encountered them, usually they run away as fast as they can and disappear. Even when I'm nearly 1 kilometer away, they've become scared of vehicles because the poachers drive into their territory to slaughter them.
藏羚羊对于车呢，已经是金车之养，因为偷猎分子都是驾着车去屠杀它们。 可能那么1-2天的时间吧，而且当时我们所看到的
They were all females because that is their birthing ground. The most terrible thing was to see that the vultures had pulled some of the unborn calves out of their mothers' bodies. In just 2 days, we saw more than a dozen sights like this.
这样的地方，我们在2天之内一共发现了11处。
The chiru, or Tibetan antelope, is being hunted by poachers for its long, soft hair. Shawls made from this material, called chatouche, cost thousands of dollars. The China Exploration and Research Society has been leading efforts to protect the chiru for more than a decade. An international campaign featuring the striking images of Xi Jianlong has put tremendous pressure on the illegal trade, but hasn't stopped it. Once roaming the Tibetan plateau in their millions, these magnificent animals are now endangered, just to produce a fashion accessory for the wealthy. On my visits, I've found that China has a great need for conservation, but I've also found a real desire to work for improvement. China has 1/5 of the world's population, huge environmental problems, many obstacles to be overcome to save even a percentage of the natural wilderness that still remains. Chinese wildlife photographer Xi Jianlong first came to media prominence in 1996 when he raised the alarm about the fate of a rare and elusive species, the Yunnan snub-nosed monkey. It is found only in a few places, including Deqing County in China's southwest province of Yunnan. This monkey was first classified in the 1890s, but with only occasional hunters' tales confirming its existence, some scientists thought the monkey was extinct. The compelling pictures of the Yunnan snub-nosed monkey and the imminent danger to its forest habitat alerted many people to the monkey's plight.
从早晨7点到现在是5点半，一共是过了56辆。
那根据你的计算，大概一共有多少立方米的木材呢？
如果按就是说从一些运输的司机那里了解的情况，平均每车13立方米的话，现在是730立方米。
In response to the crisis, concerned college students, led by renowned conservationist Tang Shiyang, formed the first green camp to investigate the situation.
Xi Jinping was very worried. 13 county officials in Yunnan province were preparing to cut down 100 square kilometers of old-growth forest because of financial problems. The forest has some 200 snub-nosed monkeys. I've been to Europe and hadn't seen 1 square kilometer of old-growth forest. And snub-nosed monkey is a Class 1 protected animal in China.
从车上看起来特别伤心，觉得这样一片林，在这种海拔高度，在这种环境下，一旦破坏以后是要恢复起来是很困难的，即使人工更新也是很困难。
The combined efforts of many people led to a growing environmental awareness in China, and for now have stopped the logging in Decheng County and saved the snub-nosed monkey. The government has even issued a ban on logging in 13 Chinese provinces. Over the years, I've watched participation in conservation efforts in China continue to grow. Roots and shoots! Roots creep under the ground and make a firm foundation. Shoots seem small, but to reach the light they can break through even a brick wall. Roots and Shoots is a program for young people that is very close to my heart. We've come a long way since 1991, when it was founded in Tanzania. Today, there are groups in more than 60 countries. Here in China, Roots and Shoots groups are in 9 different provinces. Happy to be at a school where so many people care about the earth. Zhang Jie is one of the program coordinators.
There are about 150 Roots and Shoots groups all around China. They are ranged from primary school to universities, and they do all kinds of environmental activities.
In 2001, I visited the very active Roots and Shoots kids at the Fushe Elementary School in Beijing.
Goodall 博士啊，就是教我们怎么跟那猩猩说话那个问题特别有趣。他说就是如果跟那个跟你离得很近的一个猩猩说话，就应该搂住它，然后对它哈几声，就像这样。
There is so much potential in young people. We need to find a way to channel this energy into protection of the environment. The Jane Goodall Institute shares information and materials with Roots and Shoots groups. The clubs are independent and design their own activities.
I think for youth interest is very important because it's different from other groups. The ideas of what kind of activity they want to do is come from themselves. It's not other people to tell you that you should do this and you should do that.
Green represents the environment and eyes represents one's heart. When we started out, we used photographs to document environmental problems around us. So we chose Green Eyes as our name. As high school students, we wanted to go out to assess the environmental problems around us, to record what we saw in our hearts and tell our classmates.
Led by Fang Minghe, the Green Eyes Roots and Shoots group in Zhejiang province along China's southeast coast has attracted over 300 high school students. They're proving that young people can be a very powerful force for conservation, and they can be pretty hard to ignore. As one of its main goals, the Green Eyes Club has identified cleaning up their river and convincing the local people to stop polluting it. Sometimes their work can be frustrating.
那像那个大人他一直不接你们传单，你是不是觉得很失望呢？
就有点觉得非常失望。不过后来，大家那个我刚才就是想了一些问题，希望他能够那个理解我们，并且跟我们那个沟通，把这些环境的这些问题全部跟他们说一下。
The people here know that the environment has been polluted and are unhappy about it, but they don't know what to do. What we want to do as students is to try to give them some ideas or some inspiration.
In Chinese cities, where millions of people live closely together, the pollution levels are among the highest in the world. In Beijing, sandstorms blowing in from the Gobi Desert are a recurrent problem. Packaging and waste have increased with the introduction of fast food and throwaway consumerism. It has been my pleasure to meet many Chinese who are both concerned about the problems and who are doing something about them. For several years, my good friend Liang Sungjia has helped me translate my message into Chinese. So he dropped it. But at the same time, he very gently squeezed my hand like that, which was a message which didn't need words. He said, "I don't want the nut, but thank you for offering it."
She calls me my soul brother, and I call her my soul sister, because we share the same belief and share the same spirit. I have a very deep respect to her.
In 1994, Professor Liang founded the Friends of Nature, which has grown into one of the most influential environmental groups in China. He knows the challenges that lie ahead for China are substantial.
It's very hard for me to say that I'm confident on the future of China. If 1.3 billion Chinese people, everyone wants to be rich in the shortest time, then you can see how big a pressure to the whole environment. So I always try to convince people that environmental problems is not a technical problem. It's a social problem.
And unless we can accomplish three seemingly impossible things, the outlook for the future is pretty grim. And those three things are, first of all, the growing world population. Secondly, is how do we persuade the affluent societies around the world to use less of the resources, to be less greedy, less wasteful? And thirdly, and perhaps the most difficult, how do we persuade the people in the developing countries, those who have nothing or little today, and who obviously aspire to the kind of lifestyle that they see on television and so forth, how do we persuade them to yearn for less? Because if everybody gets the same wasteful lifestyle of the Western world, then that's the end. That's the end for our great-grandchildren. There won't be anything left. It's not just in urban areas of China where the environment needs help. Human impact on the remote grasslands of Inner Mongolia threatens much of the land. Many areas that once flourished are turning to desert. In fragile areas like this, it is crucial that people understand the natural environment and do their best to preserve it. The Friends of Nature, with generous international support, have built 2 mobile education units that travel to remote areas to help teach rural children the importance of environmental protection. Hao Bing has put both her mind and her heart into this effort.
Most of the students are from the countryside. They live cut off from the world and information, and they don't have many experiences. When you burn coal, does it smell bad?
Yes.
Now, does this smell bad? No, it doesn't pollute the environment. This is renewable energy. I want you to remember that there is this kind of energy and to use it when you're grown up.
She asks whether you think mining helps the herders.
What do you think?
She thinks it destroys the pastures.
Simple games like this can link the children in Inner Mongolia with the wider world. The web of life connects us all. The myriad forms of nature can astonish and inspire us. But the threads are as fragile as they are precious. And when pollution and waste break the strands, we put our future at risk. Through our actions, each one of us makes a difference to the world we live in, for better or for worse.
Right. If the grasslands are destroyed, the grasslands have to let go. Everyone else, don't let go. Hold on tight. She's a little scared, but we've already done it. I have to drop the rope. The grasslands have to let go. The soil has been poisoned, so we must drop that rope. Oh no! All the cows, sheep, and horses have died. We still have the sun and air, but there's no way to support this life.
On my visits, I've seen many reminders that Beijing is an ancient city. But a visitor can't help but notice that change is in the air. Beijing is getting in shape. It's getting ready to play host to the world. On July the 13th, 2001, Beijing won the rights to stage the world's premier sporting event, the Olympic Games. When the announcement was made, the people of Beijing took to the streets to celebrate. The Olympic focus on excellence is a motivating force for change and transformation in the city. As host in 2008, Beijing has pledged to hold a Green Olympics. Billions of dollars have been allocated to improving the city. – 114 kilometers of new subway lines and a light rail system are on track to ease the city's congestion. By 2007, 90% of the Beijing city buses and 70% of the taxis are scheduled to run on natural gas, helping to improve the city's air quality. Trees will cover 70% of the mountains surrounding the city, and 23,000 hectares of green belt will be added along rivers and roads. The people of Beijing will clearly reap long-lasting benefits from the many changes being made for the Olympics, and the Games promise to have a big impact on environmental awareness in China.
There are hopes, because I can see from the application letter to Friends of Nature, every week I can receive dozens of letters from ordinary people. I can see from these letters that the environmental awareness among the public are really getting higher and higher.
我觉得大自然就好像什么都有。
In nature, you find everything. The most beautiful painting, the most beautiful music, the most complete philosophy. It has given my heart a kind of peace. Now I'm serving nature, and it is my greatest joy.
我觉得这是我也是一种最大的幸福。
走得越多，看得越多。
I've been to many places and I've seen many beautiful things that are slowly disappearing. It really hurts. Because I am a teacher, I feel that I need to do a lot more for the environmental education. I think that my approach is a little bit different from those fresh out of school. I believe environmental understanding must begin from the heart.
不是从知识开始。
Thanks.
Hey,
Chimpanzee. Little specks of sun coming through the branches and big tall plants growing up by this narrow little trail. I think animals need us to help them quite a lot, don't you? Yes! But you're all going to help to make it better, right?
但是你们都会帮助我们都会共同的保护环境，对吧？
Hooray, but there are only 110 chimps in the national park. I think the most important message that I have for everyone is that every single individual matters, and that includes animals. Every single human being has a role to play in this life. Some people are still discovering what that is. But perhaps most important of all, every individual makes a difference every single day. You cannot live through a day without impacting the world around you. And we all have a choice. What sort of impact do we want to make? Do we want to try and make the world a little bit better place? Or don't we care? It's as simple as that.